It was the fall semester of my sophomore year when I decided to go on a weekend camping trip with some of my friends. We'd all just wrapped up a stressful week of exams and were looking for a quick getaway. It was supposed to be a fun and relaxing trip into the woods, a chance to forget about school for a bit and just enjoy nature. I had heard of this campsite from some of the other students at university. They said it was quiet, peaceful, and had amazing trails to explore. I figured it was just what we needed. So I packed my bags, grabbed some snacks, and met up with my friends at the university's parking lot. We piled into the car and set off for the woods. The drive there was uneventful, the usual chatter, the occasional joke, and the music blasting through the speakers. When we arrived, it was already late afternoon. The sun was starting to set, casting a warm, orange glow over the forest. The campsite was nestled deep in the woods, surrounded by thick trees and a small creek. The air was crisp, and the smell of pine filled the air. It was picturesque. We set up our tents, started a small fire, and began to prepare dinner. As night fell, we gathered around the fire, roasting marshmallows and telling stories. There was an eerie stillness to the woods around us, but we all laughed it off, enjoying the company and the peaceful surroundings. That's when I first noticed something strange. From the corner of my eye, I saw a figure standing at the edge of the tree line. I assumed it was just one of the other campers, but when I turned to look directly at them, they vanished into the shadows. I brushed it off as my mind playing tricks on me, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. Later that night, after we had all turned in for bed, I woke up to a soft whispering sound. At first, I thought it was just the wind rustling through the trees, but the whispers were too distinct. They sounded like words, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. I tried to ignore it, but it only grew louder, as if the voices were moving closer to my tent. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear the whispering, and every time I opened them, I saw shadows moving just outside the tent. It was as if someone, or something, was circling around us, watching us. I grabbed my flashlight and decided to step outside. I figured I'd just check around the campsite to make sure everything was fine. When I stepped out of the tent, the air felt thick, almost suffocating. The whispering was louder now, more insistent, and it seemed to be coming from deep within the woods. I shone my flashlight toward the trees, but all I saw were the dark silhouettes of the branches swaying in the wind. The fire was still burning low, casting flickering shadows on the ground, but there was something unsettling about the way the flames danced. I turned back to the campfire and froze. Standing near the edge of the firelight was a figure, pale, thin, and almost ghostly. It was a woman, dressed in tattered white clothing, her hair hanging in front of her face. She wasn't moving, just standing there, staring at me. The whispering grew louder, now surrounding me. It felt like the voices were coming from all directions. Who are you?" I asked, my voice trembling. The figure didn't respond. Instead, she slowly raised her head, and that's when I saw her face. Her eyes were completely black, like hollow voids, and her mouth was stretched into a twisted, unnerving grin. I felt my heart skip a beat, and I stumbled backward, terrified. I turned to run back to the tent, but the path seemed longer than it had before. The woods were closing in on me, the trees shifting as if they were alive. I could hear footsteps behind me, but when I looked back, there was no one there. I finally made it to the tent, and I could hear the whispering right outside, growing louder and more frantic. I was shaking, unable to move. I reached for my phone, but there was no signal. The whispers were now so close that I could feel the cold breath on the back of my neck. I was trapped. I don't know how long I lay there, but eventually the whispering stopped. The air felt still again. I didn't dare to get up or check outside. I stayed huddled in my sleeping bag, eyes wide open, staring at the zipper of the tent, afraid that if I looked away, something would be waiting for me. The next morning, when the sun rose and the light poured into the tent, I felt a slight sense of relief. The woods were quiet again, but something was different. I felt like I was being watched, like the trees themselves were hiding something from me. I gathered my things and woke up my friends. They didn't seem to notice anything strange, and they were eager to leave, as the night had been uncomfortable for all of us. But none of them mentioned the whispers or the woman I had seen. They all seemed fine, as if the night had been just like any other camping trip. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me back. Every now and then I hear those whispers again, just at the edge of my hearing. Sometimes, when I walk through the woods, I feel like I'm being watched, and whenever the wind rustles the leaves, I can almost swear I hear a soft voice calling my name. I haven't been back to that campsite since, and I don't think I ever will. Whatever was out there, whatever I saw, it wasn't something of this world. I don't know if it's still out there, but I can't get rid of the feeling that it's waiting for me to return. And every time I hear those whispers, I know it's only a matter of time before I do.